Today, we got a downer in space. We got oath coins, we got machines, we got kids, and an episode title so long it's going to get cut off in any YouTube search. It's episode 6 of Strange New Worlds. Lift us where suffering cannot reach. After the jump.
This episode of Commander's Log is brought to you by Geek Renaissance. Need that special gift for the nerd in your life? Love supporting small business? Look no further than Geek Renaissance. The artist Sephra makes all items by hand and will boldly go to the final frontier for your unique gift. Head over to geekrenaissance.company.site and use the code FLOBITO, that's FLOBITO, to get 10% off your order. Don't forget to follow, like, and share Geek Renaissance on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Once again, this is Lobo Boy's Chief Communication Officer of the USS PostShow, but it's not about me. It's about time you look alive because Captain Sexily is on the bridge. What's up, Captain? What's going on?
Hello, Mr. Boyce. Hello.
Oh my gosh, you're just so attractive. I can't believe you're a beard gang. I felt betrayed. You're so hot. I don't feel that betrayed. What's going on?
You're just way too kind. Hey everybody, this is what my beard hides.
Yeah. Ladies, he's off the market. Don't you be looking. Don't you be looking.
I have had a couple of acting jobs lately, and one of them, they said it really would be better if you didn't have the beard. And the other one said, well, the character that you're auditioning to play doesn't have a beard.
I want to say that I mean this with the utmost respect. So please don't leave the show. But you look like the kind of character that'll be in my sitcom, and I'll go for advice. You know, like, Mr. Weber, what should I do?
More root beer? Can I get you another root beer?
Thanks, man. Mom's gonna freak. Well, you look great, man.
Thanks, man. It's funny. This is what I used for a long time. Geez, I can't even remember. I think when you and I first met, I had just started growing beards.
Yeah, I think so.
And I remember the first time I shaved off a beard, and I hadn't seen you in a long time, and I booked you on a show that I was producing up in Burbank, and you came up and you were like, "Who are you?"
Right.
You're like,
you have that power.
Thing, like,
yeah, you have that power, man.
Who are you? And it was so hard to get over. And yeah, it's a big difference. But thank you for being.
I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like I've been clean shaven for about 33 years of my life. But the one time I grew it out because I was unemployed, I got 2 of my biggest gigs ever. And so everyone who's ever booked me has only known me with the beard. So if I shave it now, I'll be like,
it's funny. Okay, please take this the right way. You have a look that is great with a beard.
Oh, thank you.
You got the, I mean, like I have a Klingon head. If I didn't have hair, you'd be like, what's up with all those ridges and that big fin in the middle? What?
Yeah.
but I've seen lots of pictures of you when you were younger and you didn't have the beard. And I'd have to say, you've got a personality that can or cannot have a beard.
Oh, thanks.
You've got a clean-shaven personality. You have a youthful,
I'll take it.
fun personality. So, kind of the suave flobito, I think, comes out of the beard.
You see me in Vegas. I order things extra slow. I'll have your finest A&W. Actually, more of a Barks guy. Let's get into it.
Root beer that's got bite. I want
caffeine-free root beer. I want one bite. I can't believe it. Episode 6 of season 1, Strange New Worlds. We're past the hump. We're going on to the first week of July, if you can believe it. This one is called Lift Us. I can't say it fast. Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. Hooked on Phonics works for me. Before we get to the nitty-gritty of this week, man, John, let me ask you, how'd you feel?
I gotta say, things continue on Strange New Worlds to come together for me.
Ooh.
To sort of wind together and create this rich tapestry that we want in a Star Trek show.
Okay.
And that normally we get after like 2 or 3 seasons. That first season of a Star Trek show, and I wouldn't really count New Trek, I like using the phrase New Trek, actually. Discovery, Picard. They're very progressive in how they push everything forward. And Strange New Worlds is like that. And I
have a question. I don't want to cut you off. Enterprise is considered old Trek in your case?
Oh yeah, Enterprise is definitely old Trek. Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with fighting expectations. So Enterprise was the last of that series of shows, starting with TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. They all kind of overlapped in some cases. They had a lot of the same people working on them. And then after Enterprise, of course, on TV, Trek took a long hiatus. And then Alex Kurtzman came back. Oh, by the way, Alex Kurtzman, we have Showtime. That's some weird thing that in my family, it's like, we have to have Showtime. And I'm never arguing with it because there's lots of good shows.
Oh, the channel, Showtime.
The channel of Showtime. And I believe it's on Showtime. I have to double check this. But Alex Kurtzman is doing The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Oh, wow.
And it's terrific. It's so good. Honestly, I think anybody who's digging where Star Trek is right now will dig this show. If you ever watched the classic David Bowie movie, Man Who Fell to Earth, or if you ever read the book, and I did both, it's actually a continuation of the original, which is very Star Trek, very Alex Kurtzman, very cool. Yeah. Anyway, to answer your question, yes.
Oh, wow. I had my reservations, but again, I can never call it whether you're going to like the episode or not. Before I get that, Craig Lubin says, "What have they done to you, Captain John?" He's joined clean shaving gang. He's with you, Craig. He crossed over, baby. You should be embracing him, man. He has ascended.
I have two legit to quit. I quit. Yeah. Anyway, no, I had to go legit, man, just to make that money. You know how it is. Craig, you know how it is.
Who's also making that money? Cadet Uhura, this time on rotation with La'an, Noonien Singh, which I thought for sure would have been a ticket to being the worst episode of the season because you're the biggest fan of Noonien Singh. I mean, before we get to our main mystery or our main story this week, Uhura doing the grand tour of the Enterprise. Cool device, lame device, kind of a lazy device. Where you stand on that?
I actually have this in my notes. Where on the ship is Noya Uhura? It's
Rockapella?
Like every hit it, Rockapella. Every week she's doing another rotation in another department, working with another member of the ship's, I don't want to say cast, with the crew.
Yeah.
Hanging out with the crew, matriculating, as they say. To answer your question, I love this, honestly, because Uhura is one of those characters. The more I see her, the more I love her. And I loved her from day one.
Yeah, you did.
And the tradition of the Uhuras, I've loved all of the different people who've played Uhura and the characters that they've created, and even in the Kelvin movies. And I feel the same way about Spock. So, it's like you can't get a bad one. They're just good actors, good characters, and you can see through their eyes. You can experience things through their experience. And this was kind of funny how this gets introduced, because she's in the elevator turbo lift. She's in the turbo lift.
The elevator. That's so 20th century. The elevator.
So, and it's one of those like, so you soar over there. Like, I just love that little scene of like, yeah, this is what it's going to be like on the Enterprise. They're one big family. They all kind of know each other's business a little bit, and they're all kind of interested in each other's little business. But that's not the most fascinating part about that little
Tell
scene.
me.
Yeah. Here's what I got from that. And I should have taken down the line. I wonder if it's in the quotes over on Memory Alpha. But basically the captain goes, oh, you're with security this week. Have you learned the 7 steps of awareness by Noonien Singh? It
Yeah.
does an imitation of her.
Yeah.
And what I think is happening here is they're now creating the joke of who Noonien Singh is. She's become a joke.
And you like this?
And I'm so okay with that. Yeah, I'm so okay with that, because if you take it too seriously, oh, I'm an head of security and none of you know security as well as I do because I face the goons and all of this crap that we've seen that's like, oh, my life is so hard. I'm 22 years old and beautiful and it's hard being me. Like all of that I hated is now reduced to we make fun of her because she's got
present tense, you hate. Oh, it was me.
I mean, look, it's I hate those characters. I used to read fan fiction.
Okay. That's not creepy unless the next sentence will be. What's the next sentence?
You're freeze.
You are not frozen. You're here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Captain?
My when I used to read fan fiction, a lot of times the writing tells you more about the writer than it tells you about anything else.
Fair.
And there were a lot of people who were kind of drama queens who would write drama queen stories. And I was just trying to write, and I wanted to write well. But the other writers were like, I want to write about how I'm the most awesome suffering hero in the universe. Everything in my life is so important. Everyone's interested in me. It's like, ugh, it's not writing. That's, masturbating, but with words on a page. So when I see characters like that, that's how I feel. It's like, oh, this is not for me. This is for some goth 14-year-old who wears way too much mascara and eyeliner, and it's about her. It's not about me or anything I can identify with. And yet Uhura's story, I totally identify with. So well done stories, well done characters, mixing with not so well done characters has been my experience so far in Strange New Worlds. But I like the fact that they make fun of Noonien Singh because that's what I would be doing in that case. I'm one of you now. Again.
Lead by example, Captain. Turns out that because the horizontal rotation, there is a bit of a combat in the opening teaser. Uhura misses, fires a ship, and it goes careening to Earth. And then Starfleet doesn't leave people to die, unfortunately, in this episode. They're being a little bored. I thought it was kind of cool, giving the power to all that to an intern, and the intern messing up. That was pretty awesome. But we got was the meeting between Pike and Alora. Now, thoughts about this? Alora is going to be a very important part of the show, but the first meeting between Pike and Alora, what was going through your mind?
That it was, it reminded me so much of the, they would do this a lot in classic Trek, and they would do this a lot even in Next Generation. And that was, the sailor has a girl in every port. Not every port, but
hey now.
There's someone he hasn't seen in a long time. Hey now. And it's classic. It's classic Star Trek that it's like, oh, I haven't been there in 10 years. I wonder if she even remembers me. And then she's like, hello. And she's so gorgeous. He's so gorgeous. And very much, part of the tradition. So I liked that.
Was it too Kirkish for you or no?
They're gonna have to work really hard to be too Kirkish for me because in so many ways, I feel like Pike is the really, really good version of Kirk.
Oh, okay.
But he's also, cool. The modern version too. So he's more thoughtful and little less two-fisted, little less ready to get into fights. But yes, it's Kirkish. I agree, but I like it.
Cool. So after the dopest intro in Star Trek history, Pike is all like, gosh, girls, remember that? And they get to have a chance to reconnect with number one not being impressed because, again, number one has nothing to do. Another week goes by with her with nothing to do. Just a small gripe. But meanwhile, on the ship, Dr. Mbega is chatting with his daughter, and I kind of forgot about this storyline. I'm glad I brought it back. Thoughts about this one? We're talking about having serialized episodes, but now we got episodic episodes. Now just have a serialized storyline with Dr. Mbega.
I am a big fan of bring up a story and then work on resolving it. As opposed to a lot of TV shows. I used to be a big fan of Castle. Did you ever watch Castle?
The Nathan Fillion show.
I mean, it turns out that he's a terrible person, but according to what I read in the media, I don't know.
Sure.
Please don't sue me, Mr. Fillion. But they would draw stories out just like the X-Files, draw the story out forever. And having lived through that, having been a big fan of the show Lost, these drawn out mysteries, I'm so happy that they introduce it. It goes into the background for a couple episodes and then it's back and then we're addressing it again. They did this with the Gorn with Noonien Singh, and I liked that a great deal. And I'm enjoying that here. And it still hasn't magically fixed anything. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Okay.
To anyone who hasn't watched it now. Seriously, we're going to have to talk about that ending.
The hell with that.
If you haven't watched the episode, stop watching us now because this ending is, woo, we got to talk about this. Yeah. But yes, I really, really loved bringing back his daughter, addressing this situation. It is Dr. Mbega is he's a very feeling, emotional man. He's open to everyone. I really love him as our doctor, but he carries the weight of this secret burden, and I like kind of moving forward in that. I don't want him to be stuck for too long. I like him too much.
You know what? I was going to go through plot by plot and beat by beat, but to hell with that. If you're watching now, Commander's Log, the best show that recaps everything. We're going to go right top and go broad strokes all the way down. Captain, talk about things that you liked in this episode. What else made you go, ooh, Trekkie?
When they meet the people from this lady's planet, Magellan. It becomes very
Majalis.
Yes, Majalis. It becomes very clear that they are advanced so far ahead of the Federation that they don't want to be in the Federation. They don't see any use for the Federation. They are a super, super evolved race. Also, this is kind of interesting. They live in cloud cities.
Yeah, I played that video game. It's called BioShock Infinite. It was great.
The Star Trek tradition is that there are cloud cities on the planet that has the cloud city, but I was watching that and I was like, well, they've already done this, but why wouldn't multiple planets have cloud cities? Yeah. I mean, we had them in BioShock on Earth. Why wouldn't that exist? Sure, I'll go with you. And they have super advanced technology, and that's awesome too. They look down on us. I always look forward to the show me where we are in the universe.
Right.
I always like that. There are people more advanced than us. There are people less advanced than us. I like knowing that.
I mean, I'm with you, but I hate the fact that, I guess that's kind of the point, right? But I hate the ones that are better than us being like, you silly, dumb humans. It's like, yes, it's already been implied with your lifestyle. You don't have to be racist too, but maybe I'm just, asking for a bunch of stuff.
Well, what's funny about that, and here's a white guy explaining racism to a black guy, so that's freaking hilarious.
Can't be worse what I saw this week.
It is so hard to get around that. How do you say, oh, no, we're not nearly as advanced as you are, but we're just as clever and we're just as valuable. And the person in the seat of power always says, "That's not true.
Absolutely.
You're not my equal."
If you don't believe the captain, go to your local neighborhood council when they have a meeting about the homeless. Jeez. But here's the thing about Magellan is that they have a technology, but they're not messing with the Federation because of reasons we didn't know at the time. But in the meantime, we learn about the first servant, and it's very Golden Child. Remember that movie?
Yes, Golden Child.
Oh man!
That's
So
awesome.
the first servant is a savant, knows everything, science, technology. I mean, kids are cool. Thoughts about this? Having the MacGuffin be a human being or being a person, an individual, a soul, and a soul being underage. Very Sukal or different?
That's funny. There's a real tradition to this kind of storyline, and right up to the end, I could find other times when this storyline has been used. That does not take away from how powerful it was for me. I actually was crying at the end of this episode.
Okay, tell me why.
The main reason is casting is so freaking good. I make fun of how often they're using Canadian actors. And that's just, that's a financial reality. That's a logistic reality. They don't want to fly people in from New York and LA to play the person who has 3 lines or what have you. But it's very funny that at one point, Alora is saying, here on my planet, we do not accept outsiders. Outsiders cannot possibly understand what our science is all about.
I did not realize that.
Going, let me buy you a beer, eh? Hey, let's sit down and watch some hockey on your Sky City planet there, eh? And then I'll go to the worst room. Like, oh God, outsiders. Okay, so that's the bad side of it. She's still a great actor, and I still enjoy
sure.
Lindy Booth is her name. Still enjoy her.
A boot.
But the little fella, the little man who plays the first servant, the actor's name is Ian Ho. Mm-hmm. He is so good.
Absolutely.
He's so good. I believed this kid was super intelligent and super curious and has a great heart. And then the guy who plays his father, who's played by Hus Madhavi, Gamal, he was great too. And this is very Star Trek, where you meet this sort of diplomatic character who's just an absolute a-hole.
Right.
Just a total jerk, but then you find out there are reasons why.
Right.
And even the best thing to find out, which is he's not a bad guy at all. He had his reasons that made him appear to be a bad guy. And then by the end, he actually gives us a gift. He gives us a boon of this knowledge, which they had been saying they were not going to share with outsiders. So I love that. Okay. I love Canada. Canada does not routinely love me.
So I'm going to ask you this question because I know it's out of order, but I'm not sure where it lands on your pro or cons. This is I don't say rare, but it happens that the bad guys, quote unquote, win in this one. Very sorry, Pike. It's Chinatown. Was this something you appreciated because it was out of the ordinary, or was it a bad thing because it's such a downer? Where do you land on that?
It's so funny. I had seen a storyline kind of like this one on Doctor Who. And it was near the end of when I was watching Doctor Who. I stopped watching years and years and years ago.
Around what time, Ninth Doctor or?
You know what it was? It was the Matt Smith, when Matt Smith started, maybe 2 or 3 episodes in, and I was like, nah, this just isn't going to get better. This is just the same thing over and over. And I like Matt Smith, and I like all the people who play Doctor Who, Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, or whatever her name is, Jodie Sweeney. Anyway, Julie Sweeney. No, that's Pat. I'm so lost right now. I really responded to the fact that we lose, and that and here we go. Let's talk about the very end. We actually watch. We find out that this entire Cloud City culture is powered by basically a child battery.
Mm-hmm.
they take these super special kids, these incredibly special kids, and they plug them into their machine, and it tortures them for their entire lives till they're burned out and dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so science fiction that I respect the hell out of it. It's
Very Twilight Zone.
Yes, it's very unsentimental and unkind to the viewer, and you have to deal with this heaviness at the end of the episode. And then I'm watching Captain Pike with the big bottle of, I assume, bourbon.
Romlin Ale? I don't know. I have no idea.
Just drinking liquor and just staring out his big giant window.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm with you, pal. I'm with you. I'm not drinking, but I'm with you. Because, man, that was a hell of an adventure. And
so let's take me back there. So it turns out that the Ascension thing was at a point of celebration. As a result of a lot of twists and turns in the writing. Who's a good guy? Who's a bad guy? It turns out that Pike had a moment because he gets invited to be part of the ceremony. And I was making my notes to go, oh, here's where Hollywood ended. He's going to, punch some guys in the guts. Going to save the day. I got you, kid.
Give a big speech. Change their hearts and minds. Yeah.
They not only see the first servant agree under his own volition, which is a whole other thing, because in our culture, we don't give that power to children.
Yes.
Agrees under their own volition to be plugged in. And there is an instant pain, I guess, being in the system. Pike gets knocked out and it's done. No one saves him. There's no Pike, and there's no Captain, are you okay? He gets transported back to the loser's chamber. And I said, this is going to be very polarizing. I thought it was well done. Oh, yeah. It made me feel like there is a coldness in space. I kind of missed that. I think Discovery does that a lot better. I think hey, look, there's no friends out there. But I was like, man, this can either be a really poignant episode or when it's really a downer, especially involving children.
Yeah. I mean, one thing you've got to remember is our culture here on Earth, many cultures, of course, but we all share certain beliefs, and to break those beliefs is taboo in every culture. Children are valuable. Children are to be protected. And of course, I'm sitting there, crying my eyes out, thinking about school shootings and how often, because she has that moment. Alora, I could never get her name. Alora has that moment where she says, can you truly tell me no child in the Federation suffers? And can you tell me that in the Federation, when that child is suffering, you don't look away?
Yeah.
And to have gone through what we've been through here in the US, there's an entire class of people in our politics that protect the rights of guns, but not of their victims. That is, and I don't care if you like guns. I actually like guns. But the fact is, I believe it should be a meritocracy. I believe you should earn it. You should be good enough. You should work. You should study. You should care. There should be a moment where you can imagine, maybe I won't be good enough. That's my personal belief, not necessarily even Flobo's belief or the beliefs of Commander's Log. I just want to, John Weber said that, no one else.
You're half the show, so that doesn't really matter. We have a sponsor, but she's actually my friend, so you're fine.
And Craig Lubin brings up, in the U.S., 6 million children, 16% of all kids nationwide were living in poverty in 2021. And who is watching out for them? And who is trying to protect them? Who's trying to get between them and harm? Not enough people. So that wagging of the finger at Captain Pike, really, the Federation is better than us and children never suffer on your watch? And he can't argue with that. Someone always loses. Someone is always suffering. It's terrible.
I don't want to diminish what you're saying about Pike's mentality at the top, but to me, that scene or shot, I guess wasn't the scene of Pike looking into the sun with the bottle of liquor, glass of liquor. I was like, because he was trying to flirt with the idea of asking Allura for help about his own future. It was kind of like, hey, maybe you could help me out. And
that's right.
He wasn't explicitly complicit, but I think there's that guilt of being like, I can't believe I was literally in bed with her, but always going to be in bed with her to get
That's
the
right.
solution at the expense of basically directly supporting terrorism or
Right.
what have you. So
Right.
that to
Right.
me made me go, oh my gosh, because we've done that before. Like, you know what? Full disclosure, I've had plastic surgery before. I've lost 150 pounds of weight, and I had excess skin in my stomach, and had to get it removed because when I ran, it was the force of the skin. So, but I had complications of the surgery, and when 2 days after it, I almost bled out. My suture
my
line had
God.
reopened.
Oh my
I
God.
almost bled out on my couch, which is a cool story because when I was about to die, I said, "Man, if I survive this, I want to try stand-up comedy," and the rest is history. Not the point of
Ah,
the story. Oh, great!
that's your
But
origin story.
that's my origin story. So
It's terrible, but it's
a
good.
lot of ways I owe it a lot to almost dying because you only live
Yeah.
twice, right?
Right.
But at the same
Right.
time, there was a point of me thinking I was going to die, being like, I can't believe I put this on myself. I didn't have to take elective surgery. I elected for it, and it's almost going to kill me. And so
Right.
that meant that morality balance was something that I guess maybe that was the A plot of everything. But I went, oh wow, yeah, it is kind of interesting thing. Like trying to find a way for a situation, but then deal like, what have you done? You know what I mean? At the same way.
Right. Right. I mean, it's interesting. We find this sort of magical science that that these folks are capable of, and everybody, you know, a few characters, Dr. Mbenga and Pike, chiefly among them, are like, oh, I could benefit from this, but at what price? Because they don't want to share. And what will it take? And yeah, it goes both ways. For Pike, it's like, I can't be associated with these people. They're
Yeah.
powering their world with a child. I can't, you know, I gotta just walk away. When he, at the very end of his confrontation with her on her planet, picks up the communicator and goes, number one, go, or whatever he says. And then I'm like, oh, don't beam the kid off the planet and destroy the planet. That would be terrible. No, they just beam him up. That's all it was. I was like, wow, that's even sadder. That's even more tragic that he does nothing. He can't do anything, and he does nothing except walks away, just kind of haunted even more. He was already haunted. It's a bummer. It's a real bummer ending. That little moment at the end with Gamal and Dr. Mbenga is the saving grace of this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I joked about it earlier, but it does have that kind of Chinatown feel of
Yes,
you
perfectly.
can, even if you save the day for First Servant, there's going to be something else, and there's going to be another child ascending. That's just the way it's going to be.
This is a place where you cannot win. Your morals cannot win. What you care for and love, your principles, none of these things are going to help you win in this situation. And we're not used to that. As Star Trek fans, as Federation fans, we're not used to being so powerless in situations. So it's very educational.
That's kind of a downer, but let me move on to my. Let's go to my quote of the week to try to bring some levity here. One of my favorite scenes is when they were doing the oath coin check, and then really what follows the most clumsiest foot chase I had ever seen on television. It was almost like the green screen stage was 10 feet long, so it was like, it's like, what do you just stop doing that? But I like when Pike puts the phaser and go, it's not set on stun. I'm like, oh, the Dave Caruso line is here, baby. Yeah! Oh,
dude,
so cool.
that was such a great line. And then I was just imagining like the other guy, like, I don't know your technology. What are you talking about? I don't like, I don't really keep up with Star Trek shows. Phaser?
Right.
What was wild about that was the other guards turn on that one guard, and then he's like, well, I better run, and he disintegrates one of the other guards.
It was so cool. It's like, so, because you know what, let's be real, I hate to make this a racial thing, but you land on the planet and there's like a house Negro telling Allura her daily plans. I was like, oh, come on, man. So finally we get one good black guard, he gets vaporized. You're like, can someone catch this rampant racism? But finally Pike does, baby.
With a good old red-blooded all-American tackle. It was, do you remember, oh God, who was that guy? He wrestled in TNA. He was the alpha male and he had the pounce.
Oh, yeah, Monty Brown.
I love him. He speared him. Oh, what a beautiful tackle that was. And I always loved that.
Yeah. Oh, man. But as Craig Lubin says, I was waiting for Pike to put on Dave Caruso Ray-Bans after that line. So that begs the question, John, do you have a CSI Miami line for the situation?
Looks like this guy's coin came up tails.
Yeah!
I could do better. But, little rusty at my improv.
I love that show, man. That's one of my favorite ones. In the early 2000s, it was a different time. But yeah, so that was kind of my favorite scene, only because we saw that Pike is willing to do a little bit more. I like a little bit more of that swashbuckling thing that Kirk is known for. And speaking of Kirk, Sam Kirk's still around. I thought he was gone.
I love Sam Kirk. Oh,
tell me more.
He's one of my favorite characters because he is such a doof. He's so mediocre.
Yeah, he's kind of just hanging around, huh?
He's like, hey, you should tell that Ninian Singh to give you a full hour for lunch. And Ninian Singh walks up and goes, you can tell me to my face. And he's like, I'm what is it? I'm conflict averse. It's like a Simpsons character, like Flagging. I gotta
go. What's his deal, man? What do you think Kirk's gonna be? Any tips or any kind of predictions?
Honestly, I think this Kirk is going to be so mediocre to set up when James Kirk is on the show.
So he's going to be cannon fodder.
Well, we know he can't die. He might get injured a lot, actually. Because
you can clone him, you can biometric him, you can implant him like Picard. You can do all things with him.
Holy cow! Look at you. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there's lots of ways around that.
There's no stopping death in entertainment. We can find anything we want to make that happen.
Science fiction, folks. What I love about it is his name is Kirk, and he's kind of a doof. And he has to survive because he gets killed later in TOS. Mm-hmm. And then, James Kirk has to avenge his brother's death and deal with his brother's death. And that's a thing. I want that to remain intact. Can I just drop this in?
Drop it.
Probably something that I could have kept for much later. So, my fascination with Chief Kyle. Yeah, redheads. But Chief Kyle, the fact that Chief Kyle I think he's in every episode.
He is.
He's the transporter room chief.
Still better than O'Brien.
And
I really don't like that guy. I don't. No, he annoys me, but I don't not like him. But it's kind of like, you don't really add anything, Chief. What are you doing?
I have such a love-hate relationship with that character myself. I know exactly what you mean. And the fact that Colm Meaney is always doing things that he's not good at. And I mean, chiefly whenever he does an accent that's not Irish.
Right.
it just sounds awful. But the actor who plays Chief Kyle.
Who was so mean last week to those recruits. That was kind of funny.
Yes, very funny. Andre Day Kim. He is from Degrassi, The Next Generation.
The one where Drake was on?
I mean, Drake was on original Degrassi, but the next gen, they actually use a few actors from that show. But yeah, he's actually well known in Canada because he's on the Little Kid soap opera. And so, I actually go, well, is that why they just went all in on him? I mean, as Joe Townsend. Is Joe Townsend pointing this out? Yes. Where's Hemmer? Missing in action for 2 consecutive episodes now. Yeah, he wasn't on this episode.
Well, you got to follow the Flash principle. If you guys watch any CW show, if someone gets injured, they always take the week off for budgetary reasons. So I'm assuming he's recuperating, going to the holodeck maybe if there is one. Probably in his quarters.
You would not love that episode, would you?
Maybe a Hemmer on the beach where he's an Enar. Yes, that would be hilarious. It's too hot here. I thought that was a genius.
Well, I mean, if he's on the holodeck, it's all going to have to be, I don't know that, Kay. I don't know. So Kay says, howdy, all. Chief Kyle is the gay mascot of the Enterprise. I don't know that.
I mean, there is a possibility. It's inconclusive, but you could take that scene out of context and say, I mean, he did get that guy that look before he was vaporized to a crisp, right?
And there's nothing holding anyone back. We're not downplaying anyone's sexuality on Star Trek anymore. So it could be, and it would be perfectly normal. Ortegas, maybe I say this every week, but I love Erica Ortega so much because I know people from the military, and there are a lot of people like her. Yeah. And not, straight presenting, not, super femme. And I just love the sort of military realness of it.
Yeah.
So it could be.
It's a very small gripe. My only thing about Ortega, I think I said it a couple weeks ago. My only thing about Ortega is that she feels like a character that came out this year. Like she just strolled in, like, "Hey guys, fly a spaceship." Okay, and it's fine. It works, but it's kind of like everyone else is in the future. Why do you feel like you're from 2022?
Well, that's true. I mean, she is a very like modern person. Yeah, right. I mean, Stress Free K says Ortegas is straight up military butch. I mean, I've got so many friends like Erica Ortegas.
Leave Kyle alone, Joe.
Joe says Laan and Chief Kyle are both competing for hard ass of the year. Well,
leave Chief Kyle alone. I guess the recruits hate them. Hate him.
I mean, that's the other thing too. When you're a chief, you're usually not part of the officer program. You were a volunteer. You went into the military and you worked your way up. Yeah. And there's a lot of respect for people who do that as well and weren't part of like officer training, which of course Uhura is, and that's why we're kind of following her around. As Hemmer said 2 weeks ago, most people in your position are just dreaming of being captain.
Yeah.
And so, there's a big difference in how people enter into the military. I'm glad they portray that as well. That's another thing they do well.
I had no idea it was so similar to our own. For the fact, I was supposed to be an airman in the Air Force, but they told me, no, you're too fat. But I always wonder how my life would be different if I wasn't,
I actually have in my life to this very day some serious discipline problems. And so many people in my family went into the military that it was something that was discussed quite a bit for me. And I wonder if I would have been as funny or as creative.
Like strictly military or like ROTC or boarding school or...
if I had gone in, I would have tried. Well, what branch? What branch? I probably Air Force because there was more Air Force in my family, but there was some Navy in my family. But me and water, nah. I know there's lots of things where you don't end up on a boat in the Navy, but why chance it?
Fair enough. Like, hey, look, you float, Weber. We're gonna put you in the USS Nimitz around Australia or something.
Like my uncle joined the army right like in 1973, and Vietnam was still going on, and everyone was scared to death what was going to happen to my uncle. But he ended up in Germany for 2 years during all that. Basically.
So 1973 was Vietnam, and then what? 80. The next conflict was what? Beirut. Was 80, 82?
Beirut was more like a sort of police action. Okay. So, I don't think my uncle had, I believe I should call my Uncle Jimmy and ask him. I don't think he was drafted. I think he joined.
I'm just having that realization, like, man, we've been fighting a lot of people. But what are we not fighting people?
I mean,
honestly, how many years later? Wait a minute.
After Vietnam, there were still like people stationed in places that were very, very dangerous, like Beirut and Lebanon and all that. And then the very few conflicts, though, extremely limited number of actual shooting wars. That's like the whole thing behind the original Top Gun movie is how it's a Cold War that they're fighting. And there have been some conflicts, but they've been extremely limited and they don't talk about them and blah, blah, blah. And so, that's kind of that Cold War mentality that you grew up during.
Stress-free case of the feeling your hero might be a little more successful until in officer training duties. I hope so. Craig Lupin says, I did Air Force ROTC in college, bailed out just before I was locked into becoming a second lieutenant. I actually wanted to be part of the Office of Special Investigations, or OSI, NCIS at the Air Force.
Nice.
And Joe Townsville says, things changed by the time I came along. I registered for the draft at the post office. So for those of you who live outside the United States, every male when they're 18 years old has to sign up for the military, but it isn't like Israel where they give you a gun. It's called the selective service. Women are exempt, which is kind of interesting, right? Women are exempt, but as a guy, you can opt out from joining, but you can't be eligible for student aid if you do. So you got to put your name on dotted line, even though you may not even be used. So like, we don't have a draft, but we kind of do.
Yeah. I remember signing up for it kind of proudly because I was a real political conservative at the time and very pro-military. And I remember my mom wouldn't talk to me all day. And it's not like I had a choice, but she had seen the best of her generation get, destroyed by Vietnam. So I totally get it. Totally understand it.
Well, speaking about Starfleet Command, I think it's still cool. As it is right now with Uhura's cycle training, going to different stations or whatever, do you think she'll decide to lean in certain aspect before she becomes on the bridge crew? Or do you think that's going to be kind of like is this a way to get her off doing things in season 1?
I was wondering about that because is this just she's taking a tour of all the different departments and branches that are within the ship. And so through her eyes, we see all these different corners of the ship. That's a good way of going. You can only do that for about a year.
Right.
Maybe they could go into second season with her still doing this, but I doubt it. I'm pretty sure this is only a first season thing.
Right.
So, story wise, I can see that working the way, it's like, we'll get to know all these people. Joe Townsville says, the burn question for me today is, Captain John, where are your whiskers? Good luck with or without facial hair. Thank you so much, Joe.
I love he accuses you, but he's like nice about it. He's a bad cop and then good cop. Where the hell? Either way, it's fine.
Carrot and stick. Well, again, the thing that is going on with my career right now is kind of exciting because people want to hire me to do acting jobs for them, but they didn't want to hire the beard. So, and I don't know if I'll even get these jobs. I had to audition for them without the beard so they could see what it looked like. So we'll see. Also, I'm in a play that's starting this weekend, and it was just better for the characters I'm playing if I didn't have a beard.
As we roll into the end of the show here, I won't go too much in depth because you're not responsible for watching next week's preview, but I sent the captain a clip of next week's episode 7, and it seems the Enterprise is caught in a certain kind of web.
A web, if you will. Made of lasers.
That they can't go anywhere. Well, anyway, I'm looking for hot Tholian singles in my area, and I said, "Oh, what the odds? What are the possible odds? Captain.
You are sexy. I think you're sexy, Flobo. Let's have coffee."
Oh man, she's a keeper. Thoughts about that? Possibly. Rooms are swirling. We may see some Tholians by season's end.
I mean, I think they're teasing us. Tholians don't need the they don't need the setup that these guys are using in next week's episode. Maybe they used it at one point and I'm wrong. I believe when we run into Tholians in TOS, they are still kind of new. Like we don't quite understand what they do. So again, we're making reference to TOS on something that we know gets discovered in TOS. So why would we do it now? However, any culture can set up a trap made out of laser beams.
Yeah.
Do I know that? No, I'm guessing.
I figured that'd be kind of like a Prometheus thing, or be some other race that does it. Then someone goes,
that makes sense too. I'm a big Prometheus fan, so actually that makes sense.
Really? Prometheus to me was a movie where like I enjoyed it thoroughly when I was there, but I walked outside the theater and we got neuralized. I can't remember. I know Charlize Theron ran a straight line when a big curved spaceship fell on her. But that's all I remember. Like, turn left, chick. What are you doing? Squat. It was okay.
Seriously, you can't outrun height. You can outrun width. Go sideways. Yeah, and I saw the second one too. I keep, I have enough streaming services that I keep running into them and just going, oh, what the hell? And I'll just put the movie on. I'll do something else. I'll come in and watch for a while. But yeah, all the alien stuff, the xenomorphs, the deep, deep mythology that we run into with Prometheus. I kind of dig it. I kind of love it.
Well, we were going to talk about this early in the episode, but Joshua K really wants a bit of a primer on this. Then Mega's about dilemma, because what if his daughter tells her dad she had enough of the pattern buffers? So even though it looks to be steps for the cure of that disease she has, stand by, cyanochemia, there is I didn't really realize this. There is a bit of feeling on the case of her being like, I am tired of being inside this magical box. Captain?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the scene where the first servant is playing with her and they're basically playing hopscotch. It's just one of the cutest things in the world. And this is good casting too. This is Craig Lubin says, run to the goddamn side, which just reminds me of the movie The In-Laws, where he's running while being shot at, and the CIA guy's like, no, run serpentine. And so he goes back and he's running in a zigzag.
That's actually a good bit. I haven't seen it.
The thing with the kids is you can hire kids for a TV show, and they're not always likable.
Right.
Sometimes what adults choose in a child actor does not quite work, and that character is not quite likable. And I can say this, I can say this across the boards. I love the casting on Strange New Worlds. They keep introducing me to actors that go, I need you to stretch your imagination a little bit and imagine, in this case, imagine this kid is a genius. Yeah, no problem. This kid is so well-spoken, good communicator, just a terrific little kid. I love Mabenga's daughter. And I care. That's the thing. They want you to care. And I do. They got me.
What do you want, though? Do you want her to be saved and cured and be a cast member? Are you okay with this being part of Mabenga's tragic backstory if he doesn't keep her? What would you, as a fan, prefer?
Somebody else called it. I wish I could remember whom it was.
Just say it was me. I want the credit.
It was Flobo. Okay, so Flobo called it at some point, which is they're going to cure her. This is a prediction. They're going to cure her, but because he broke so many rules to do that, he's no longer chief medical officer. He gets a demotion.
Right.
And that kind of goes in line with what Dr. Mabenga was in TOS. He was a doctor, but he wasn't chief medical officer. That would work for me. That would give him a little bit of shame that he has to bear, because he really did break the rules here and was draining resources from the ship to keep his daughter alive. Although, as we find out, as soon as First Officer Una finds out, she's like, no, we're going to keep doing this. It was wrong, though, but we're going to keep this child alive. That's the most important thing. So, at the end of this episode, we lose the first servant. That's terrible, but we gain. It's a blueprint to getting her better. We don't get the cure.
Right.
So, it's a terribly painful trade-off, but we do get that trade-off. And I'm happy we just, it's like walking out of a casino with $1 in your pocket. You're lucky to have that.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, it really was the bright light in a very sour episode. Not sour, tragic, I should say. It's
very tragic. We're all bearing some burden after that episode. And that's okay too.
Yeah, it kind of makes you realize the sanctity of life, but me, I'm not going to wax poetic about that because John did so succinctly put. But Commander's Log is towards its end. US PostShow is landing now. Any final thoughts, words, notes before we get out of here, Captain?
I still don't know why they why they had Captain Pike come down and watch all the horribleness. It was like, well, normally outsiders are not invited to this, but you are. Come on in, watch us kill a kid.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I was like, why? Okay, but he's gonna save it, right? Oh, he's not saving us. Oh, this is just awkward.
I mean, everything about it was so painful, but yeah, sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes that's the story. But yes, I hope there are more imitations of Noonien Singh. You can't do that. I don't want you doing that. Like I love the fact that they make fun of her, and now she's the I wish I remember the character from Babylon 5. But it's like the character of May from Agents of Shield. There's the woman who's the badass who seems to have no sense of humor, and there's a lot of humor at her expense because she has no sense of humor. If they go in that direction, I'll be pretty happy.
Oh, that's it. I'll be pretty happy. US Post Show set a course to Starbase 80, where John and I will be back here Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific to talk about the Enar episode, season 4, episode 14 of Enterprise. But Captain, now's the time you dump everything. If someone wants to follow you, connect with you, just make sure they are on there waiting for your shows when they go on air, how they go about doing that.
On Facebook, you can find us at Starbase 80. We have our own page called Starbase 80. A lot of stuff, all our stuff from Starbase 80 is posted there. And then on YouTube, you can visit me at Weber Internet Thingy. And that's where you can find all kinds of shows that Flobo and I have done together, that Joe Townsell and a bunch of other boys and I have done together. That is a good central place to look for us as well on YouTube, Weber Internet Thingy.
Absolutely. If you know any of your Tholian relatives that are single, hit me up at Flobo Boys on that Twitter. Again, on Sunday, we're doing Starbase 80. But in the meantime, follow me on Instagram as well at Flopito. It's my birthday this month. People are asking me, how can I celebrate? Well, you can purchase a book, Graduation Day, available on Amazon. It's advice for young adults when they are graduating. It is June. Make sure you make that happen. That is it for me. I'm going to get out of here. Captain, do me a favor. Can you say the words?
You beautiful, beautiful nerds. Live long and prosper.